morning, everybody. Thanks very much for coming tonight. Can everybody hear me okay? Brilliant, good. So I'm Kath. I'm the CEO of Skin Biotherapeutics, and Doug Quinn is over there. He's the CFO, and between us, we'd be really pleased to answer any questions that you have about us. So first of all, what do we do? Well, our name is a dead giveaway. So what we do is we are developing a technology that's got therapeutic applications for skin, and that's skin in health and disease. So that's our name, and our logo. This is where I need to be 2 or 3 inches taller, but hey. So our logo is based on our technology. So our technology is an extract of a bacteria. Okay. So the logo is the shape of the bacteria. Not, as my husband said, that looks like sausages in a pan, Kath. It's not sausages in a pan, it's some funky coloured bacteria. But hopefully you remember us for sausages in a pan if you don't remember anything else. Okay, so I'll tell you a bit more about our technology in a little while. But first of all, I'll just give you a kind of overview of the company. So, as I said, our technology is based on a bacterium, so that places us in a very interesting area. So we're in the microbiome area. It's quite big news at the minute. If anybody's not sure about the microbiome, it's just the technical name for all the bacteria that live in and on us. And there are a lot of them, so there is at least a bacterial cell for every human cell in our bodies. And our microbiome helps keep us healthy. A number of years ago, bacteria, they were disease-causing. We now know that's not the case, and some bacteria are incredibly friendly, and they help us. So we're in a new area of microbiome research because we're in skin. We have proof of principle for 3 potential applications, but there are more that could be developed. We have our own IP that's supported by peer-reviewed published data because I'm a scientist, so the scientific robustness of the company is very, very dear to my heart. We've got a very experienced board. It's a good mix of science, but also people with commercial experience. So, for example, our chairman has taken companies through IPO, he's taken them through acquisitions. So we have that healthy mix of science and commercial experience. Our business strategy is that we're very low cost. We operate quite a lean operating model. And our strategy is to out-license as early as we can to companies that can go on and do the main commercialization of our technology. We have value inflection points in the near, medium and longer term, and by near, I mean this year. And we listed on AIM about 14 months ago where we raised 4.5 million. And at the time we listed at a share price of 9p. Our current share price is averaging about 15p. There's a little bit of wobble around that, as there often is on AIM. The current market cap's about 80 million. But we're in a nice, healthy cash position, thanks to Doug, who doesn't let me spend money. But we've got we're okay for cash at the moment. Our year ends June when we'll publish our results. And just a snapshot of our major shareholders there. So some of you know of Optibiotics, they're a major shareholder. Then Seneca Partners, who cornerstoned our IPO. The University of Manchester, that's because my background is as an academic at the university, and that's where the technology came out of my academic laboratory. And then the other shareholders are myself and my colleague. So that's kind of a company overview. So now I'll tell you a bit about our technology. So who knows about probiotics? Who here is aware of probiotics? Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So do you remember that advert? This is Planet U, and it showed you all the pretty coloured bacteria in and on our bodies. So I think the food industry have done a great job at educating us about our microbiome. And we now know that probiotics are these friendly bacteria that are derived from the gut. And probiotics work by a number of ways. So if you're going to travel to the Far East, for example, and you don't want to get a tummy upset, it's a good idea to take some probiotics before you go, because they're great at stopping nasty infectious bacteria from invading your gut. The other thing that they're really good at is strengthening the gut barrier. So what on earth do we mean by that? So your gut isn't just a tube that absorbs food, it also keeps out nasty things that you wouldn't want to get into your circulation. So it acts as a barrier to any toxins, pathogens, that kind of thing. And the other thing probiotics are great at are healing wounds. So you might think, well, how on earth do I wound my gut? Well, typical student thing on a Friday night in Manchester is to go out and have a very hot curry and several pints. That will wound your gut. So the bacteria in your gut fix them up again for you. So we were thinking about all this and we thought probiotics, they stop nasty infections, they strengthen barriers, they heal wounds. All that is so applicable to skin. So we thought, do we have to eat or drink probiotics? Could we actually just rub them in? So that's where our technologies come from. So this is a topical application of a bacterium that's a known probiotic, but we're rubbing it in. But what we do, we don't use a live bacterium, we use it as a dead extract, and that's for practical reasons, because it's much easier to formulate, because for skin, we're thinking about creams and gels and lotions. It's difficult to keep bacteria alive in those sorts of formats, so we deliberately look for a bacterium that would work dead. And the other thing is just safety. So we found a brilliant bacterium that does all these things and will work as a dead extract, and we called it SkinBiotics. And that is basically what our technology is, a dead bacterium that we apply topically for skin. So what are the potential opportunities here? Well, of course, cosmetics. We've got some ladies in the audience here. Bet you ladies have got lots of pots of things on your dressing table for day creams, night creams, lip creams, eye creams, all these sorts of things. Yeah? Maybe some of you gents have as well. So yeah. Male grooming is a very big growing market. Lots of applications in cosmetics, and that's based around the barrier building activity of our technology, because if you build a healthier, stronger skin barrier, the skin traps more water and it just looks and feels better. Eczema. I would bet quite a lot of money that most people here will know somebody with eczema. Shall we see? Yeah. Eczema is currently 20% of the paediatric population now in the Western world, and it's growing. And it's appearing also in countries that don't have a history of eczema. We don't really understand why that is, but it's a real thing. So of the 20% of kids that will have eczema in childhood, half of them will still have eczema when they reach adulthood. So it's a massive problem. It's affecting huge numbers of people, and the knock-on effects are wide. So if some people in the audience may have kiddies with eczema. So if you've got a tiny dot with rip-roaring eczema, nobody in that household sleeps. And then, of course, it's lost days from work, massive impact on the economy. So it's a big problem, and it's growing. A couple of things wrong with eczematous skin. The barrier's weak, and it also gets infected a lot by a nasty pathogen called Staphylococcus aureus. Try saying that 10 times fast. And 80% of eczema flares are induced by this nasty bacterium. So basically, if you've got a technology that can build stronger skin barriers and inhibit pathogens, that's a pretty good indication that that's going to be a good treatment for eczema. And the other sorts of applications are just straight infection. So we have a technology that's good at inhibiting pathogens. So there's opportunities there around infection. So hand washes, sanitizers, that kind of thing. So where have we got to? So when we listed on AIM 12 months ago, we basically had a colourless liquid in a test tube, and we had this data pack. So our model that we use in the laboratory is actually skin. So here it is. This is real human skin. We get this from the leftover bits from elective plastic surgery procedures. Yeah. So when ladies, but sometimes gentlemen, oh yes, you guys are going for plastic surgery as well, it would seem. So when you go for tummy tucks and facelifts and that kind of thing, we get the leftover bits, the offcuts. So we can keep that going in the lab for probably 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a great model because it's real human skin. It's just not attached to a human anymore. But I'm sure you can see from that this model, it helps us de-risk the technology a lot because we're testing it on actual skin. So what we've done here, this is, the green is just indicative of the amounts of a particular protein in the skin that's needed for the skin to be a really good, strong barrier. So that's kind of how much there is without the technology. When we put the technology on, the green gets a lot brighter because there's more of this important barrier protein in the skin. So the idea then is that the barrier is overall stronger. We've managed to now make a formulation, a cream formulation containing our technology, and we can show that that cream produces the same effect. So we've gone through formulation now, so another significant de-risking milestone for us. We've done something called cytotoxicity testing. So this is a regulatory requirement before we can go into a human study. So for this, we have cells in a dish, and here they are. This is done by a third party because it has to be done independently, and they basically ask the question, does our technology have any effect on cells in a dish? And the answer you want is no, it's not toxic. And that's the answer that we got. So it's not toxic. They also ask the question, but if you go out in the sunlight, because people put cream on their faces and then go out in the sun, does it become toxic, yes or no? No, good answer. And finally, sometimes people put cream in their eyes. Obviously not on purpose, but they also check, is it going to be toxic to the eyes? No, it wasn't. So all this is a huge key milestone, because without passing these tests, we would not have been allowed to go into a human study. So again, a big milestone for us. This is what we've been doing on our eczema and infection programs. So in these images, the skin is stained blue, and the red staining is this nasty pathogenic bacterium, Staphylococcus aureus. This is the one that causes a lot of eczema flares. So without the technology, you can see that there's red all the way through the skin. So just to orient you, you're kind of looking at the skin from the inside here. So this would be the top surface, and you're looking all the way through the skin. So you can see the red all the way through there, because this is a nasty invasive bacterium. Look what happens when we put the technology on. No red. So the technology is forming a barrier to this nasty bacterium. And the graph at the top there is just showing us something about how our technology stops this bacterium from growing. So the blue line, which is without the technology, that blue line shoots up because the bacterium's growing really quickly. But with the technology on, which is the red line, the line stays flat because it's stopping the bacterium from growing. So it stops it from growing, and it stops it from penetrating the skin. So this is really, really cool. So we believe the indication for eczema is fantastic. So it's no good having a great technology if you can't manufacture it or anything like that. So these are some of the highlights since IPO. And remember, 12 months ago, we were very much just a colourless liquid in an Eppendorf tube in a laboratory. So our challenge has been to make that into something that's more of a commercial proposition. So we've been able to show that we can scale up the manufacture of the technology, and we do that now with a manufacturer in the US, and they're routinely making the technology to our specification now, and at some scale. They've scaled it up 200 times, so we can make the technology. As I said, we've passed some key safety tests. We've got our formulation, our cream formulation that shows effectiveness. And that might sound like no big deal, but it's amazing actually how sometimes you can take a technology that's great, put it in a cream, and it just doesn't work anymore. So actually the fact that we've got a cream that works, again, is a major de-risking milestone for us. We've made quite a lot of scientific progress. We know things like the dosage and how often we'd have to apply the technology in eczema studies. We've completed the design of our human studies. We're starting to get our patents to grant, so we've had patents to grant in Australia, Russia and New Zealand so far, but there's another 15 applications out there at various stages. We've also got some non-dilutional funding in the form of a grant in collaboration with the University of Manchester, and that's to develop new pipeline opportunities for the future. And commercially, we said from the word go that we weren't going to aggressively try to commercialise our technology until we were much closer to human studies. And that's because it just changes the entire conversation that you can have with potential licensees if you can show them human data. So, but nevertheless, we have got a material transfer agreement in place with a major multinational. So they've got access to our technology, and they're actually looking at it in some of their applications, some of which are different to the applications that we've identified. So that's pretty exciting for us. So this is what our pipeline looks like at the minute. We're into our human study later this year, and then into more aggressive commercialisation of our technology as we come out of that study. Because the regulatory requirements are much more complicated for the other two programmes, they come on in series after our main proof of concept study, which is the cosmetic study. So a little bit about our business approach. Obviously, we've got a platform technology here with multiple applications. So really our model is to continue to build our portfolio of supporting science and IP. And we absolutely know now that the science underpinning our technology is really driving partner engagement. So I'm in quite a nice position in that with my academic background, I've done work for major multinationals in the past. I've done research for them. So what's been happening is they've been phoning me up and saying, Kath, what's this technology that you're developing? So it's been actually relatively easy to have conversations, to get in front of these people and have some conversations with them, because they know that the science is absolutely nailed on. And so that is the ethos of the company, that we will be science-driven and it will be robust science, because that's driving partner engagement. We've got multiple potential licensing opportunities during technology development. But as I've said, our initial focus is really on that first cosmetic application, for which we've got the study coming up later this year. So just thinking about that study, we've got a clinical research organisation on board, and we've finalised the protocol. We're going to be putting 120 people through that study, which makes it probably one of the larger cosmetic studies of its kind. I don't know if anybody ever reads the labels that sometimes come on cosmetics, but more typically it's 20 to 30 subjects. So we're doing 120, so again, very robust. As I said, we've got our cream formulation, and currently that's undergoing stability testing, which again is a requirement that we have to do. So we're looking to commence that study in Q3 of this year. We're going to continue our commercial discussions, albeit fairly lightweight for now, until we have that human data. And meanwhile, we're going to progress the other two regulatory pathways for our other two programmes. So in summary then, we have robust science, which can be targeted at very large global markets. The scientific team has close ties to industry, and we're supported by a great board with lots of experience. We have a very scalable business model. And we've got those value inflection points in the near term. So I'll just thank you very much for listening, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
So question time. Anybody got any questions at all? Right at the very back. Zach.
Double question, because I'm greedy. First of all, speaking of greed, you're up against Big Pharma. If you do well, you're up against Big Pharma. How are you going to handle that? Because obviously they would want to snuff you out. The second thing, for the actual, for the parent or the person in boots giving some medicine to their child, why would they trust you rather than a Glaxo product or one of the others? So you've got that credibility issue.
Okay, so to your first question, which is about big pharma. So these are not just pharma applications. So obviously we've got a cosmetic application, which quick to market, low regulatory hurdles. The infection program will be as a device. So again, a slightly higher regulatory hurdle, but nothing like the loopholes that you have to go through for pharma. For the pharma product, I mean, we've got absolutely no intention of ever taking anything to market ourselves, if we can possibly avoid that. The idea would be to partner early with one of the specialist derm pharma organisations and out-license our technology. So we're not planning to compete with them at all. We're planning to work with them to develop this technology into great new therapeutic products. And your second question, which I've just lost track of, I'm sorry.
Basically, the end user, why would they trust your products, which seem to be too good to be true, rather than the normal creams and lotions and nasty stuff that you can get at the moment?
So again, so they won't be trusting our products, because we're not in the business of making products. We're in the business of developing a technology to out-license it to people that can go on and commercialise it. So we'll do co-development with large pharma. But to the heart of your question, the current therapies for eczema are basically either you slather your kiddie in oils, which I don't know if any of you caught the reports on TV just a few weeks back, which NICE have said they don't work. Well, you ask any parent of a kiddie with eczema, they could have told you that without NICE doing a study. They don't work. So then the next one is steroids. Who wants to be putting steroids on a 2 or 3 year old child? So basically, it's not about trusting one person over another. It's about a significant, currently unmet clinical need. So that's why they would trust us, because this is a significant unmet clinical need, and we believe we have a technology here that can fill that need.
Next question, just down here.
If the human study goes well and the results are as you would hope, what is the timescale from a company you agreeing to partner with a company and their product then being available in the shops? And how do those commercial arrangements look? Do they pay you a big lump sum? Do you get a percentage of sales?
Okay, so obviously this study is the cosmetic study. So you've kind of asked me a how long's a piece of string type question, because it's it depends who you partner with. So a large global who want, say, somebody wanted to put it in an already existing global brand as Mark II, improved. There are all sorts of things that go into a global launch, so it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to work things out like your supply chain. Will this technology, can we make it at 45 degrees heat in the Philippines? So global launches don't happen overnight. So it depends who you're partnering with and what markets they're targeting. And I can't really say too much about that at the moment, I'm sorry. And I think you had another, was that?
That's the licensing, the commercial side of it, do they pay you a lump sum?
Okay, so for a cosmetic, it would be unusual to get a lump sum in advance. That's more a pharma type play. But it depends. It depends what the deal looks like. So, if you were going to give somebody exclusivity, you might want an upfront payment for that exclusivity. It depends very much what the deal looks like. Yeah.
Question just behind you, Peter.
You've stressed eczema, but are you looking to apply this to anything else for the skin, like, I don't know, psoriasis or something of that sort?
So I've stressed eczema because that's the strongest indication at the moment. So obviously we're a small company, and what we can't do is spread ourselves too thin. So there are lots more potential applications. And as I suggested, the company that are looking at our technology under MTA at the minute, looking at their own applications. It's just that, small company, we've only got so much bandwidth, and so I think we have to stay focused on what we've outlined, for now anyway.
Why do you have 120 people in your study? Is that because of you have to power up the study?
Yeah,
it
sure.
seems more expensive than just having.
Yeah.
30
So it's the nature of microbiome-based study. So your microbiome, it's a bit like your fingerprint. It's unique to you. So your microbiome, you will have things in common with other people in this room. In fact, fun facts time now. So your microbiome will look more like that of the person you live with if you share a house with somebody. If you've got a dog, you will share species of bacteria with your dog. And what's more, your dog will have species that other dogs don't have. So we have things that are very much in common, but nevertheless, it's largely unique to us. So that gives us a very noise in our results. So to get above that noise and to be able to say, yes, we've got a change in the microbiome here, you need a much higher powered study. And sometimes that's missed from studies that are done, but I'm a scientist, so it has to be done properly or I'm not playing. And actually, originally we were thinking about 60 people, but when we did the costings with our CRO, it wasn't double the cost. So it made much more sense to us, because this sort of very, very robust data is what attracts the guys that we want to attract to help us co-develop this technology. Does that answer the question?
A lady here at the front.
What is your active ingredients that penetrates the believe the dermis, top skin, and reaches the living tissue in order to promote biotic effect.
Sorry, are you asking me what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, so-
how do you do that? Is it slightly acetic material?
So what we do is we take our bacterium, you know, the sausage is in the pan, we take our bacterium, we explode it using some high pressure, and what we actually then stick it through a filter to get rid of some any live bacteria that are left, and it's that extract that we're using. So I guess the analogy would be maybe a vaccine. So vaccines are sometimes dead or attenuated bacteria, but they still work. So that's the analogy really, for me anyway. So even though it's dead, it's still working because all the bits of it that promote a response in your body are still very much there. And in terms of it penetrating, so it doesn't need to get down as low as the dermis, it just needs to get through the first few layers to promote its effects. And we know it can do that because it's real skin that we're working with, so we know it's doing that. So the next question is, will it do that on a real live person? And there's no reason to think that it won't, but, you know. Oh, okay.
I've got a quick question. Obviously, it's probiotic based, you know,
Yeah.
being slightly facetious. You rub yogurt all over yourself. Would it have a similar sort of effect?
Yeah, okay. So, Cleopatra used to bathe in fermented ass's milk, so the stories go. So this isn't new, you know. Apparently Cleopatra had wonderful skin. I mean, we can only speculate whether that was because she bathed in fermented milk. But the point is, what we're doing is we're putting some real science behind this. So in my lab in Manchester, I have Middle Eastern students, and it's actually quite common in the Middle East to do exactly what you've said, to put yogurt on a sunburn. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, because you don't know what's in that yogurt. And what we absolutely know, because we've done a lot of screening, not every probiotic is the same where skin is concerned. So there are some probiotic species that we've tested, you really wouldn't want to put those on skin because they're quite toxic to skin. So there's quite a bit of pseudoscience out there that said any old probiotic will do. It absolutely won't. So as I said, we've screened, we've selected strains that are safe and that are efficacious, and that is why you wouldn't just stick yogurt on. Apart from anything else, it would be horrible and sticky and
Pretty
a
rank.
bit messy. Yeah.
So what is your IP then and your patents you've been applying for? Because really, is it a delivery mechanism? Is it a dosage mechanism?
No, so we have patents around specific strains and specific applications.
So
And-
nobody can copy your strains that you've identified.
No, 'cause we've got the patent around those strains, yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions, anybody? Lady there.
Hi there.
Hi.
So just to confirm, you haven't done any phase 1 clinical trials thus far, so those 120
It's a
patients-
cosmetic study, yeah.
So that doesn't need FDA
No,
regulatory.
No, we have all the
requirements.
approvals that we need to do that study already, because it is a cosmetic study, so that's why it's quite fast. Because to go from a lab through to a study in 18 months is, well, you'd never be able to do that for a pharma product. So the regulatory requirements that we need for this study, we already have. Yeah.
And then going forward with your other products, will you then require FDA approval?
So our second product, which is around infection, that's going to be a device. So the device route is requiring of a clinical trial notification rather than an approval. So again, it's not phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It's show it's safe, and then you can take it into a disease population. So it's a slightly lower hurdle. Yeah.
Whilst I'll go, Catherine, just a quick question. As you're one of the scientists, have you been putting the lotions on?
Yeah, now we've got them in a cream. Yeah, the whole lab have
And
slathering
you've
them on.
noticed, you know, you've noticed a difference. Have you?
Well, you know, I'm really 105, so, you know.
How much cash will you need for the clinicals, for this cosmetic study?
We're fully funded through that study and beyond, so we're not. Doug always looks really relaxed, you know, as a CFO. He's really chilled. You know.